Magandang araw sa lahat. Welcome to JJWA Talks, the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act in the New Normal podcast series. Ito ay binuo ng Juvenile Justice and Welfare Council o JJWC bilang bahagi ng selebrasyon ng 10th Juvenile Justice and Welfare Consciousness Week. As part of its advocacy efforts, the JJWC has gone digital, recognizing the increasing role of social media and our online platforms to raise awareness on the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act or JJWA. Sa loob ng 4 na episodes sa buong buwan ng November, we will be talking about topics related to the implementation of the JJWA in the context of the pandemic, how policies and programs have adapted to our new way of living. These will include discussions on the programs, activities, services of our government agencies for the protection and promotion of the rights and welfare of children, tips as to how we could better adapt to the new normal, and help everyone through examples to create more safe spaces, especially for the Filipino children. For each episode, we will be joined by our guests and resource persons from JJWC member agencies to share with everyone some very relevant and useful information on our selected topics. My name is Mike Lilan, and I'll be your host in this 4-part podcast series. For today's episode, makakasama po natin si Police Colonel Joy Equia Tomboc from the Women and Children Protection Center of the Philippine National Police. Currently, siya po ang Chief ng Anti-Violence Against Women and Children Division. Siya rin po ngayon ay ang Deputy Commander ng PNP Medical Research Force. So magandang araw po, Ma'am Joy.
Magandang araw din po sa iyo, Sir Mike, at sa JJWC, sa ating mga tagapakinig at tagapanood. Happy 10th JJ Week po.
Ang topic po natin today ay ang Child Protection Policy ng PNP, particularly po sa curfew at protocols sa pag-handle po ng ating mga kabataan during the community quarantine. So Ma'am Joy, ano po ba ang Child Protection Policy ng PNP? Ano po ba ang objectives po nito? At paano niyo po ito ini-implement or paano niyo po ito plano i-implement?
Ang PNP Child Protection Policy is a set of general guidelines and procedures on how to ensure that all children who come in contact with the PNP, either as victims or as alleged perpetrators, have the right to protection that is fully realized and treated in line with the existing international and national policy. So ang objective po nito ay mailatag ang key principles to be applied in all instances in making decisions or acting on decisions concerning child protection. Nandito rin po nakaloob yung mga guides or guidelines para po sa identification and response concerning child protection cases. So kumbaga, nandito yung set of standards to be applied to all PNP personnel in dealing with children to ensure that these children are protected from all forms of abuses, cruelty, discrimination, humiliation, at iba-iba pang condition prejudicial to his or her development. So nagawa ang child protection policy na ito to ensure that the PNP personnel also na accused of committing violations or accused of committing abuses against children are subjected to a thorough, speedy and impartial investigation, and that kung mapatunayan, mabigyan sila ng karampatang kaparusahan.
Ito pong child protection policy po ng PNP, how is it currently being implemented po? And were there any adjustments that you have to make, especially during this time of the pandemic?
As regards the implementation of the PNP child protection policy, the Committee on Child Protection shall be established, and it will be headed by the Chief of the Women and Children Protection Center. At may mga members din po from other units of the PNP like the FJGOD, the Directorate for Intelligence, Directorate for Operations, Directorate for Personnel and Records Management, at iba pang mga units ng PNP. So the same committee on or similar committee on child protection will also be established in the police regional offices at para sila din po ang mag-supervise ng implementation and mag-monitor ng implementation of this policy. So the said committee will also be the ones to review the said policy to ensure na ito ay updated and ma-meet pa rin yung objective lagi na i-safeguard yung rights ng children. Dahil nga this will be applied to all PNP personnel, there will be training or all PNP personnel will be oriented about this policy. Kasi nga, para ma-prevent yung makakommit sila ng violations ng rights ng children habang ito ay nasa kanilang custody or nasa PNP offices. So, ganun po ang magiging implementation nito. And then, also, merong focal person din na ma-designate. The focal person of the PNP units will be the one to report about the implementation din ng units. And then, if ever may mga PNP personnel na naka-violate, sila din po ang magre-report and magmamonitor. And then, that PNP personnel will be investigated din po. And then that includes syempre yung mga supervisors and mga subordinates. So when we talk about PNP personnel, kasi nga this is applicable to all PNP personnel, that this includes uniform and non-uniform personnel. And those mga categorized as mga contractual or non-organic or temporarily nagbibigay ng serbisyo sa PNP like mga interns at saka on-the-job trainees. So ganun po ang magiging implementation ng child protection policy na ito. So may mga programs and activities para po maayos ang implementation.
So follow-up question po. Were there any cases po ba, ma'am, ng mga kabataan po natin were rescued because of their non-compliance sa ating curfew and mga safety protocols during these past lockdowns? And how are they handled po by our police force?
During the start of the pandemic or yung ini-implement ng local government units yung mga lockdowns, no? Medyo maraming mga kabataan din na rescue for violating curfew hours or mga local ordinances about health protocols. Pero yung mga kabataang ito naman ay yun nga sa pagsunod sa ating protocols, they are rescued by police officers and then they are turned over to their parents or barangay officials din po. So yun po ang sinusunod. As to the data, medyo hindi lang po ako nakakuha ng data, sir, about this children who were rescued because of violation of curfew hours. Pero based doon sa mga na-receive naming reports, may ilan lang naman, lalo na yung pag-umpisa pa lang na i-implement yung curfew hours or hindi pa nila alam yung curfew hours.
Just to summarize a bit, ang policy po nung time na po ng pandemic is that pagka nahuli po yung bata, na kunya nag-violate po siya ng curfew or meron po siyang hindi sinunod na safety protocol or hindi siya nagsuot ng mask or ng face shield, ang ano po is pagkadala po sa kanya sa ating tanggapan is itatawagan po yung kanyang pamilya para siya po ay sunduin at bigyan po ng parang reprimand, parang ganun po.
Yeah, i-advise sila or bibigyan ng payo para hindi nila uulitin or i-educate sila tungkol kasi 'di ba yung iba nakaka-violate because hindi pa nila masyadong alam na ay may ganun pa lang ini-implement na ordinance ang LGU. So hindi pa masyadong disseminated na violate. So binibigyan sila ng advice or reminders para hindi na uulitin.
Ma'am, for our next question po, pwede niyo po bang ma-discuss briefly kung paano po nadidetalye ng PNP Child Protection Policy yung pag-handle or pag-reach out po natin sa mga kabataan that are at risk or yung tinatawag po natin children at risk and children in conflict with the law?
In dealing with child at risk or children in conflict with the law, ini-ensure natin na PNP personnel shall keep in mind na ang mga kabataan ay may karapatan din na dapat protektahan. So dapat pinopromote natin ang kanilang rights and i-ensure natin na sila ay safe and protected. And then, PNP personnel are also reminded na yung mga vulgar language or hindi magandang words shall not be used against a child. So dapat mga maayos na words lang ang ipaparinig doon sa mga kabataan. Then the PNP personnel shall also notify the child's parents or guardian within 24 hours from the time that the physical custody of the child is taken. So gaya ngayong na-discuss ko din kanina, is OP po ng PNP na i-inform ang parents at saka guardian about doon sa custody ng bata. Then the police officers shall also refer the child to appropriate agencies for necessary interventions or diversion programs. Ito ay yung patungkol na doon sa mga children in conflict with the law. So may mga prosesong ginagawa, and then katuwang namin dito ang barangay officials at saka social workers. And upon assessment kung kinakailangan na itong si ICL ay kailangan ng further intervention, ito ay nire-refer doon sa appropriate agency para sa kanyang diversion programs. And then, bawal din po sa mga kabataan na makaranas ng torture or pananakit. No? Kung meron mang force na gagamitin sa kanila ay dapat appropriate lang. At ito lang po ay last resort para doon sa mga resisting o yung mga lumalaban talaga. And then, pinakahigit po na bawal ay yung ilagay sila sa lock-up rooms or mga detention cells. So, as practice, kung merong mga rescued children and nandun sila sa tanggapan ng pulis, nandun lang sila sa room but not in the lock-up cells, nakasama yung ibang mga preso or mga adults. So nasa room lang po sila and open po itong room, nandun lang, may nakabantay lang din po ng mga WCPD personnel. So ganun po ang SOP. And meron po lagi tayong coordination with the DSWD or the local Social Welfare and Development Office or sa mga LGU for the availability of temporary shelter kung kinakailangan talaga na medyo maprolong pa yung kanyang pagstay at walang ibang mapaglagyan ng bata. So kailangan po niyang mailipat sa mga temporary shelter.
I was just going through yung notes po natin, and ano po yung parang treat child rights violations. So ano naman po yung parang exemption po dito, or ano po yung parang treatment naman po ng nasasaad sa ating child protection policy with regards to these types of violations naman po?
Yung grave child rights violations, yun po, kasama dito yung killing ng kabataan, mga sexual abuse, trafficking, ano pa ba? So marami pa. Ito ay kung baga ito ang parang pinag-uusapan natin itong bata na kapwa din nakaka-violate ng mga rights ng kapwa niya kabataan, no? Like ang mga violations gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, yung mga violations like mga sexual abuse, trafficking, killing, mga ganong examples. So ang type of offense na ito ay kinakailangan na ito ng mga diversion programs. So ito kasing is magdidepende din doon sa evaluation ng ating mga social workers. So ganun po ang mangyayari.
Ma'am, to our next question po, may tanong lang din po natin. Meron po bang mga opportunities para po sa ibang ahensya ng gobyerno or even yung mga NGOs po natin or CSOs to partner or collaborate with the PNP to further promote yung child protection policy po ninyo?
So gaya nung sinabi ko kanina, the child protection policy will be disseminated by the PNP to all of its personnel to ensure na hindi sila maka-violate ng child's rights, especially child protection. But then, this will also be the modules on child protection laws, child protection laws, and the protection of the rights of a child are actually incorporated na in the PNP mandatory trainings and specialized trainings. But then, ang mga agencies or ating partner NGOs or CSOs may also help the PNP in developing its awareness programs or in formulating its advocacy plan to make this child protection policy known to the public and also, of course, to all PNP personnel.
Tanong ko lang po, Ma'am Joy, ano po ba yung mga halimbawa ng mga collaboration or partnership efforts that you've had with the NGOs or CSOs? If you could name a few lang po para ma-share natin yung efforts ng mga private citizens in this regard sa pagtulong po sa inyong policy.
Karamihan kasi na na-extend ng mga NGOs at mga CSOs na sa amin is yung services na pinoprovide namin sa mga child victims. So we coordinate with them for the provision of like psychological interventions or mga counseling. And hindi lang din po dyan, nagiging katuwang din po namin sila sa pag-create ng mga iba-ibang policy sa PNP, lalo na doon sa protection ng children at saka promotion ng rights of women. So naging katuwang namin sila sa paggawa ng mga policy ito. And another is yung sa aming advocacy programs, nakakatulong din ang mga NGOs at saka mga CSOs sa paggawa ng mga contents ng aming mga information materials, and then in the dissemination of these information materials sa public. So yun po ang mga tulong na gawa sa amin ng mga partners namin. So kung sino mang willing ay pwede rin po silang makahelp, no? Kasi kailangan din po namin ng kanilang mga technical expertise sa paggawa ng mga especially sa advocacy programs namin, paggawa ng mga information materials.
For our last question po, how can our target audience take part in promoting awareness about the PNP's child protection policy in line with the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act?
So isa sa mga pamamaraan ng PNP para ma-disseminate ang mga policies and mga information about mga accomplishments din ng PNP, specifically WCPC, is yung pag-post namin ng mga related information sa aming social media. So our audience also may take part in promoting awareness about the PNP Child Protection Policy by sharing mga relevant social media cards that may be posted at the PNP-Women and Children Protection Center Facebook page or the Aling Police Facebook account and other information, education, and communication materials to reach a wider audience. So yun, pwede silang tumulong po sa aming information dissemination campaign.
Ano ma'am, just an additional question lang po. If there are concerned citizens, for example, or if there are children po na para sa tingin po nila hindi po tama yung naging pag-handle or yung treatment po sa kanila, ano po yung ano po yung proseso ng pagdulog po ng kanilang posibleng maging complaint or yung kanino po sila pwedeng magbigay ng feedback with regards to ito pong probable mishandling of their cases?
Incidents of child abuse or mishandling of children may be reported to the WCPC or the PNP-Women and Children Protection Center Facebook page or to the Aling Police Facebook account, or maaari din po silang lumapit sa pinakamalapit na police station at hanapin po ang Women and Children Protection Desks. So pwede din po sila doong mag-report. So for the CICLs or the child in conflict with the law, nga lang, depende kung anong violation or anong crime ang nakomit ng bata. For example, if it is drugs related, meron kaming anti-illegal drugs group or the PDEG namin, the PNP Drug Enforcement Group. Sila po yung mag-handle ng investigation patungkol doon sa crime na nakomit ng bata na related sa drugs. And then itong bata or the CICL will be provided with a WCPC or WCPD personnel para siya ay mapangalagaan at ma-ensure na ang kanyang mga karapatan ay maproteksyonan, and also yung bata mismo ay mabigyan ng protection against abuses, mga discrimination or maltreatment at iba pang mga conditions na nakakasama doon sa bata. So, ang WCPC personnel or WCPD personnel ay i-ensure na ma-promote yung best interest ng bata. Pero kung patungkol naman kung ang offense naman ay like gender-based violence, syempre ang mag-investigate niyan is WCPD or WCPC, but then may separate din na personnel din na mga ngalaga din po sa kanya. So iba yung mag-investigate at iba rin po yung mag-handle sa kanya para maproteksyonan siya at ang kanyang mga karapatan.
Ma'am, any last words for any messages po that you'd want to share with our viewers as to maybe how they could help? Ano po yung mga kailangan nilang tandaan at ano po yung mga kailangan nilang malaman para lalong mas matulungan po natin ang PNP sa pag-i-implement po nito?
So ang mga kabataan natin ay sila yung future ng ating bansa. So napakahalagang treasure po sila. Sila ay vulnerable. So ang mga message ko lang din sa mga parents na talagang constant guidance lagi ang ating ibigay para sa mga kabataan. Wag natin silang i-treat as adult. So, i-consider natin sila na hindi pa talaga sila mature enough para mag-decide or mature enough to understand the consequences of the actions na iti-take nila. So, constant guidance from parents and guardians ay kinakailangan natin na ibigay. And then, for yung mga violations, kasi tayong mga mamamayan, parents, government agencies, meron tayong mandato or we are mandated to protect the rights of the children. So as parent or as member ng community, kung maka-witness tayo na may violations na nagagawa or may mga abuses na nagagawa against doon sa mga bata, please do not hesitate to report it to the nearest police station, particularly the Women and Children Protection Desk ng PNP or the Women and Children Protection Center ng PNP National Headquarters para po mabigyan sila ng appropriate assistance and services. So yun lang po.
Maraming salamat po ulit, Ma'am Joy, sa pagsama po sa atin sa ating podcast ngayong araw. And thank you to everyone who have joined us in today's episode of JJ Watt Talks. Again, this podcast series is part of our observance of the 10th Juvenile Justice and Welfare Consciousness Week with the theme of Batang Handa at May Alam, kaisa sa pagharap sa bagong normal. We hope that you have learned a thing or two sa ating mga discussion and samahan niyo po kami ulit next week para sa isa na naman pong bagong episode. For any questions, comments, or concerns, you may reach us through the JJWC social media accounts as indicated. Once again, this is Mike Kalilan. Thank you and stay safe.